What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC. We have right here via Zoom a very special guest. You may have heard her in Squid Game as Kang Sae-byeok. You may have heard her in Spider-Man Miles Morales, Genshin Impact. The list goes on and on. She's got quite the impressive resume in her young career. We are talking to voice actor Vivian Lu. Vivian, thank you so much for the time. How's everything going?
Hi, Fred. Thank you for that very sweet introduction. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And I guess we'll ask you the question. I'm sure everybody's wondering right off the bat, what's it like being involved in such a cultural phenomenon like Squid Game?
I mean, it's awesome on so many levels. I was talking to a friend about this the other day too, but I'm just so glad to see Asian media popular on the Western front, irrespective of whether or not I'm in it, but just to have that representation is really exciting. And it's such a good show. I'm just so happy and glad to be a part of it.
For sure. I feel like it's a great time. You mentioned Asian media and everything. I mean, Shang-Chi's been killing it in the box office. Squid Game is a phenomenon. I mean, give or take, it's like number 1 or 2 all time, streamed and everything else. And, My Hero Academia was killing it in the box office as well. I mean, it's a really awesome time.
Yeah, I'm hyped because, growing up as a little kid, I didn't get to see a lot of Asian media, it being from the States. Mulan, there was Mulan and Mulan was everything. But, now we have all these different things. And I think in general, our world is just more connected in that we watch other international media and vice versa. And that's really awesome and really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as you're concerned, I mean, you're part of the Squid Game English voice cast. I think you guys did a fantastic job. Full disclosure, I watched both versions, really enjoyed them thoroughly. And from what I understand, if I have this correctly, the Squid Game English cast was an all Asian cast?
Yeah, more or less. All the main roles were all Asian. I don't even know if some of the additional voices were, but I think for the most part, yes, a full Asian cast.
Very cool. Very cool. So how did you get involved in this show? And did you know that much about it when you got involved? I interviewed actually one of the other voice actors, Donald Chang, and he was telling me when he came in and he was doing Jun Ho's voices, like he thought, okay, this is kind of like a cool cop adventure, but he didn't realize the scope until he watched it. I was like, holy crap. So for you, when you first got started, auditioned and got involved, I mean, did you realize kind of the scope of what this would become?
Not at all. It was really fun to work on. And, some of the, I'm assuming anyone who's watching this has seen Squid Game, spoiler alert, working on some of the episodes, episode 6, killed my soul. And it was such a good show to work on. And I was like, oh, this is so good. But never did I don't think anyone thought that it would blow up to be this huge phenomenon that has grown to, And it's funny, as voice actors, we sign a lot of NDAs and everything. So I didn't even know the project title. Our code name, I believe, was Calamari, which is hilarious.
Close to Squid, yeah.
I know, right? So we didn't even know. It was only until, we saw that it blowing up on Netflix that, I'm glad it happened. But no, it came as a total surprise.
And when you were doing like the voiceover work and everything else, were you doing them in conjunction with the scenes themselves? Were you with any other voice actors? Did they bring you to some dark room, the top secret? Like, how did that whole process work out?
I think maybe save for one session, I recorded every single line right here in my home studio in this booth.
Wow.
With my shredder in the background. Unfortunately, we didn't get to, with COVID and everything, things are done a little bit differently. And so I didn't get to work with some of my amazing friends who are also in Squid Game. I would have loved to, work with Greg Chun. Our characters have a very funny relationship. But no, our director, Madeline Hale, was just fantastic. And she was really instrumental in, I think, grounding us all in the scene and making sure that we were actually people talking to each other, because the lines were definitely recorded separately.
Very cool. And as far as your life since Squid Game, how's it changed?
I mean, not much, I mean, it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of such a cool project, but, day to day, I feel like, to be honest though, I feel like the last 2 years in general have all just been kind of a blur because of COVID. So not too much has changed, but I can't complain. So
yeah, time is definitely a flat circle these last couple of years. It's like, wait, we're already approaching 2022. Like, what the hell?
I feel like the year just started and it was a very chaotic start to the year. And now I'm like, how is it already? We were just talking before, we started. How is it already Thanksgiving? And then we're going to roll into Christmas. Then it's going to be 2022. It's insane.
It's absolutely wild. And it's amazing that you have this awesome home studio that we're talking to you from. And, kudos to you. I mean, that's clutch to be able to do Netflix gigs and other gigs right from your home. Did you have that kind of set up prior to the pandemic, or was that something you had to be adjusted to once you realized, okay, I got to adjust here?
I actually did have this set up. I wanted to have a good setup for the auditions that I submit out. Sometimes, I go to my agency and they have their studio there and I do it there. But sometimes for a last minute thing, it's good to just, be able to pop in and send that out within 15, 20 minutes, if it's requested. So I did have a studio set up at home and, I was working with a few clients at home, but usually we went to the studio. So yes, I'm very privileged and grateful to have had this setup ready to go right when the pandemic started. I think it took us all a couple weeks or months to really adjust. The beginning months were pretty rough because no one knew what was going on. But I think the industry has kind of found a new balance of how to continue to operate while we're still in the pandemic.
And you've done a lot of video game work. You've done a lot of work with TV and movies as well. Is there a very big difference between each of the mediums when it comes to your process?
That's a good question. I would say yes, in that everything is a little different. I think for in these days, games are so interesting in that it's not like how they were before. They're real cinematics, and a lot of these performances are super grounded. So it's almost like film work. Whereas, when you're doing animation, it's a lot more, even though now animation is skewing more towards natural, but it's a bit more comedic, a bit more like outlandish, a bit more cartoony, if you will. But I think the main difference is recording to picture or to dubbing versus original animation. Because with dubbing, it's like you have such a great guide because you can see what's in front of you, whereas when you're doing original animation or you're creating something from scratch, you kind of have to just dream it up with your imagination, you and the director in the studio. With dubbing, you have a reference guide, but in a lot of ways, it's also, you're more limited because one, you have to be limited with timing to make sure that the flaps match. Two, you have to see what's on screen and what's already existing in there. So you don't get to make as many of those choices, but you still have to make, the appropriate choices to fit the scene. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally does it. Fantastic insight. I appreciate that. And of course, people will look at your resume and they'll be like, oh my God, you did Miles Morales and Last of Us and Genshin Impact. And of course, Squid Game, which is a worldwide phenomenon. But of course, it all had to start somewhere. So for Vivian, where did it start? Did you want to become a voice actor or get into acting in general? Did the industry kind of find you? How did it all start?
I've been immensely lucky and privileged to be a part of these awesome projects, especially since I'm still relatively new to the field. I just moved to LA several years ago. No, to answer your question, no, I didn't go to acting school. I don't really have that much professional acting experience. Sometimes it's hard not to feel like you have imposter syndrome. I feel like in any field that you're in, right? So I went to college in San Diego and, I had intended on going to law school, but I started working in voiceover while I was still in university. And then I think it just kind of grew from there. And my rationale was, I think law school will still be there for me if and when I do want to go back. Spoiler alert, not going back now. But I want to give this a try, and I'm so glad it did. It was, it's definitely, I think, this applies to any industry, but I think if you asked anyone, it's really tough, but also very rewarding. I just feel privileged to be able to have worked on these projects.
When did you realize, like, okay, I can actually make a career out of this?
I can actually make it a career. I don't know. I think, growing up, I always loved cartoons so much. And so I think the first time, I'm trying to remember what was the first kind of animated thing I worked on. I know I suddenly blanking out, but
okay.
I think I remembered seeing my voice animated on the screen, and like that just brought me so much joy. So it was less of like, hey, I think I can make money doing this, and more like, wow, this is so satisfying, so gratifying, and so fun. and I want to keep trying to do this and like improve at where my craft and get better and work on all these exciting projects, because it just makes me so happy. Like it sounds corny, but it fuels the soul in a way that, at least for me, being an attorney does not, I mean, so yeah, I'd say that.
That's awesome. Yeah, listen, you're creative. You want to be creatively filled. You want to have that good feeling, and it's awesome. I'm sure to see your voice match to a character and be like, yeah. So when you watch Squid Game and you saw how badass your character was, or I guess when you were doing the dubbing and matching the flaps, I mean, what was your reaction when you saw how badass she is?
Totally. We all want to be Sae-byeok, okay? And God, I have her name here just because I don't want to pronounce it wrong. I think it's Jung Ho-yeon, right? Jung Ho-yeon, the actress who plays Sae-byeok. She is amazing. Not only is she stunning and beautiful, she's so talented. And I think I read it, like she did an interview where she's like, I'm not afraid to act ugly, which I love, like I really believed the performance. So honestly, most of the credit goes to her. I just was playing off of her performance with Madeline's direction. But yeah, I mean, it was, listen, I watched both of the versions too. And I thought both the sub version, the original, and the dub were great. I loved everybody's performance, but I think there's always something about watching yourself on screen. Despite the excitement, it does feel like a little self-involved, and sometimes I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to see that, but no, it was great. I definitely channeled all of the badassery that I most definitely do not have into that character.
That's awesome. And looking back too, you worked on Spider-Man Miles Morales, you worked on The Last of Us Part 2, Genshin Impact, Pokemon Masters. I mean, props to you. I mean, that's an incredibly impressive resume. I mean, kind of looking back at that, are you like, wow, I got to act in some things that are kind of like childhood favorites?
Yeah. I got to, I participated in a couple Mulan projects that were not affiliated with Disney. But again, I think we were just talking about this before the interview started, how, I was obsessed with Mulan growing up as a child. So, I mean, it was amazing just to be a part of Mulan. It was like a childhood dream come true for sure.
So are you ready for kind of the lightning random round?
Cute.
Awesome. What's your favorite color?
I'm clearly great at this lightning round stuff. I don't know. Green.
There you go. Okay. Any kind of green?
I don't know. I like all the colors, actually. I'm not a particularly big fan of orange, so it's kind of hard. I like green the most to look at. To wear, I prefer neutrals. How about that?
All right. There you go. Favorite late night snack or cheat meal?
Hot Cheetos. So good.
I dig it. What's one movie or TV show you could watch 100 times over?
Futurama. Or Bob's Burgers. It's a close one.
All right. And bonus, any particular film?
Shawshank Redemption.
All right. Great film.
Excellent. Forrest Gump. But I cry. I'm a huge crier, so I'll just be sobbing throughout both of them.
All-time favorite, quote-unquote, traditional actor and all-time favorite voice actor?
That's a hard one.
Or any faves like currently?
I gotta say Greg Chun for voice actor. Also because he and I have been in quite a few projects together. And he's just amazing. Like, he's such a nice guy and so talented. So yes, everyone go follow Greg. Give Greg lots of love. And as for traditional actor, I've really been loving the work of, there's so many. Felicity Jones.
There you go.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Cool. You've done a ton of video game work. Are you a gamer yourself?
I am not a great gamer, but I like to watch people game and I watch streamers. So, but no, I'm not much of a gamer myself.
Most awkward moment as a voice actor?
Oh, probably when I'm in the booth and I drink water and I choke on my own spit. We have to redo the take. And I'm like, excuse me, sorry. Yes, that was the sound of me choking on water.
If it makes you feel better, I feel like every time the camera comes on, not all the time, thankfully not during this interview, but once in a blue moon, there's always something wacky that just happens when the camera turns on. Like my face will get itchy, or something will happen, or I'll see like a bug crawling. Like it's always something when you're about to go live, right? Or about to start like recording.
I can't scratch my nose right now. Yeah, the other day I think I was working on a project with Madeline again, actually. You know, the UPS guy was here. So this is pretty soundproof, but she goes, "Do I hear a tiny little dog barking in the background?" Yes, Madeline, you do.
Hey, it happens. As I told you off the air, they have construction going on. It's like, you know, we're pretty soundproof, and it's like yeah.
At least I'm not that one attorney who went to court over Zoom and then he like had the cat filter on his face.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah,
like, I'm here. I'm not a cat. I promise.
Oh man, poor guy. That's funny.
I know.
What would you say is the biggest do and the biggest don't as a voice actor?
Biggest do is take care of your health. And by health, I mean, you know, make sure you sleep right, make sure you eat right, and don't stress your throat. Speak up for yourself when you feel like you need a break. I promise you, from my experience, nobody's like, oh, screw that person, we're never hiring them again, you know, because you want to protect your voice for your career and also to deliver the best product. Biggest don't is just personal experience. Don't be defensive. I think a lot of times, you know, when people are giving you advice, it's meant to help you. And I think that we can always learn from constructive criticism. Like, don't take abuse, but, you know, constructive criticism. My mom always said as a kid growing up, she was like, you know, if somebody gives you something and 99% of the information is wrong, try to take that 1% and learn from it and make yourself better. So good words to live by for me.
Besides Sae-byeok, who is your favorite character on Squid Game?
Favorite character. Favorite as in the person I like the most, or favorite as in I find their character very interesting?
Well, we'll go with interesting. Let's go with the more interesting route.
I think Sung Woo is a very interesting character.
Huh?
I thought, you know, obviously very morally questionable, but I think it's an interesting look into what a person is capable of when they're desperate, and also self-preservation and ego, especially in the beginning. You know, we were introduced to him as this like huge hotshot guy who went to such a great university and did all these things, and I imagine that puts a certain amount of pressure internally too, when other people put you on a pedestal and you feel like you have to live up to those expectations. So I found his character to be very interesting, but very brutal too.
What's the best life advice that you've received that's helped you?
I mean, in terms of work, I think just diligence and perseverance, you know, in our industry, you know, you get rejection a lot. And I think sometimes you almost have to have this blind optimism or this blind, almost, I wouldn't say narcissistic, but like almost this just unshakable belief in yourself that you can do it and really stick to it. And there are days that you're going to waver, but I think, you know, if you set your mind to something and you work hard at it, slowly but surely you will get there. And I'm still trying to, you know, employ that and live by that myself. So definitely good advice, I think. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Awesome advice. You know, bonus question. You've done a lot of great work up to this point in your career. Again, I've mentioned all the projects that people really know you for. Is there one project you've done that you feel like is underrated that you'd love people to check out?
I don't know if it's super underrated, but I really loved White Snake. I worked on it, I think a couple of years ago. First of all, the director of the film, Stephanie Shea, is amazing. So talented and so nice too. And also, again, it's really cool. I know China is a little newer to the animation industry, but it's really nice to see, you know, all the effort that they've put in and what their Donghua studios have come up with. The animation is just beautiful. So I would definitely recommend checking that out.
Definitely check it out. Vivian, we thank you so much for the time. Before we let you go, where can fans find you online?
Well, bad millennial. I'm not good with social media, but I am on Instagram. My handle is Hello Vivian Lu. That's HELLOVIVIANLU.
Easy enough to remember. Vivian, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Fred. Thanks so much for having me.